And so we have to, sometimes we go to that safe place, or we go to that place that we see as a safe haven, because that's what we're used to, right? And when you come from an environment or a family where you don't feel like you're receiving love and respect, and you're going to seek that elsewhere, whether you have a loving family or not, but they just don't display that towards you, or you don't feel like you're getting that level of love, respect, and attention, then you're right. You're gonna go out there and seek it elsewhere. And unfortunately, the streets are always there to receive you when you are ready to, to walk your life. They will never turn you down.
Definitely.
Okay? Yeah. So through all of that hurt, the pain, going through and fighting with the drug addiction, your life, and being in prison three times. How you mentioned that it wasn't the prison that really changed you; it was you coming out, and that's different. You got a different spin on the story, because usually when people go to prison, or when they go to the university, when they go to jail, then they develop these habits, or they change and break the habits that they once had, right? And they come out like a Malcolm X, or not all of them, but they come out
right.
They come out rehabilitated, right? And so yours was completely different. He was like, no, I'm free now, and I'm going to change this lifestyle. So you understood that you had to, no matter whether you were in or out, you had to change your people, your environment, your relationships, and you have to change that, because if you don't change that, then you're just going to continue to repeat that cycle. So I get it, soul brother, I get it.
Definitely.
For sure.
So it was basically like so I went to prison once. I went to the workhouse jail 3 times, right? And what I had noticed, because I started to learn myself once I went to prison, that was probably the longest amount of substantial clean time that I had, right? Because like I told you before, I've always had like a spiritual inclination to things, but it was just suffocated, right, by everything else. But in this time, I started watching my patterns, right? Because I showed myself that previously, every time I got out, I went back there, right? So I said, okay, in order for me to do something different, I have to do something different, right? I can't do the same thing, because we will manipulate ourselves into doing something that we know is not beneficial for us, because the phrase that we grow up with, I can handle it. You know what I'm saying? I can handle it will kill you. I can handle it will kill you. I can handle it is the reason why people do not address mental health issues, the reason why people do not express their emotions, the reason why people do not seek therapy, because we grew up with this in our society and in our culture with this I can handle it mentality. So showing vulnerability is a weakness. I'm grateful that nowadays people are able to express themselves, and it's not becoming so taboo to be emotionally in touch with to be in touch with their emotions. But it wasn't until like I had that time, and I'm like, you know what? I can't do this by myself, because my track record has shown that every time I got out, I said, you know what? I prayed, and I said, let me try to find something different. And I found the organization. And when they told me that, hey, we're going to let you in this organization, you'll be here for a year. The only thing that I had to worry about as far as my basic human needs being met was nothing. They gave me a place to live. They gave me a food card. They gave me a bus pass, right? And I knew in the moment that they told me that I would be able to go there, that my life was going to change significantly. Even at the prison, I've always had this amazing energy. I've always been the positive one. I've always been the one that people come to and seek to for advice. It's just I could not implement those things into my own life. You know what I mean? And, we all are very well at that. We have the perfect advice to give our loved ones. We have the perfect advice to give our friends. But when it comes time for us to kind of take that same advice, it's a little bit of a disassociation with it. You know what I mean? Because we have that I can handle it mentality. So coming home, I got introduced to that program, but not only that program, I went to a community-based organization, treatment center as well. And the power of identification and relatability, right, the power of you are not alone is what really propelled me to accept everything that I had did, everything that I have done, because you can only imagine, I was a sex worker. you know what I'm saying, outside in St. Louis. So I'm pretty sure a lot of people that have drove down Dr. Martin Luther King or Grand or whatever the case, they have seen me, you know, if it was between 2016, the beginning of 2017. You know what I'm saying? And I don't say that as anything. I say that just for the people that are ashamed of the things that they have done. And two, so that I can accept it within myself, right? And the transparency, which I definitely know now, dealing with women that are making the transition, is that that's what allows people the freedom to express their own truth. So when I first came on, I started telling people, it's not that I wanted to tell people that, it's that God placed it upon my heart that I had to. Because when people see me now, when they see me doing all these things, they have no idea of the journey that it took me to get here. And what I want them to know is that I'm no different, right, than the same people. So the same empathy or the same reverence that you have for me now, I want you to have it for the person that you see walking down the street that's lost. You know what I mean? So when I came home and I went to that community-based treatment center and I got into another program and really started working on myself, it was like magical. This is the first time I've ever been in recovery, the first time I've ever had this amount of clean time since I was 12 years old. You know what I'm saying? 12 years old, and the life that I live now is amazing, but I also I also know through my bones that this does not belong to me, right? I have acquired the necessary spiritual principles. I have acquired the necessary healthy habits, whether it be mentally, physically, emotionally, in order to live this life, right? But if I do that and I don't reach back and help the people that are lost like me, it'll be like a slap in the face to the Creator, and that's just my personal opinion. So that's why I delve so deeply.
To be doing yourself and them a disservice, because we have to reach back, we have to give back, right? If we've been, you know, on the other side of the world, man, we have an obligation to prevent others from traveling that same path that we have, right? So it's each one teach one, or reach one teach one. You know, we just got to do that. Like, you know, otherwise it will devastate us. Like, I know for me, you know, when I got out, it was like, man, I got to help these people. I got to do this. I got to do that. I got to work with these youth. I got to, you know, I did enough time where I'm like, man, shit, nobody ever had to get locked up again, you know? So, yeah, but
definitely.
Real talk, though, it's good that you have that type of energy and that you're able to, you know, speak truth to power, and then also let people know, hey, there's hope, but yeah, I have a past, and you can't be discriminating against these people, because those people was me. Or those people are me, right? Those are my people.
Yes.
They're my peoples.
They're my people. So, that's my favorite phrase whenever I see somebody. Yeah. In casual conversations, I'll be around people that don't know my past, and they'll bring it up, you know, or they'll say, oh, did you see? I'm like, oh, they're my people, though. Yeah, they're my people.
That's right. That's right, because we are no different. Like, there's no big eyes and little U's, and we get this fake, we put on this fake facade or wear these masks as if, you know, we're holier than thou, right? And then, you know, you got the cliques throughout the you know, the different regions, and it's like, if you're not part of this clique, if you're not part of that group, or you're not part of this thing, you know, or if you're from Illinois, you're not from here, or if you're from, we got to get away from that. That's childish, that's stagnation, and we don't need to be surrounding ourselves with those type of people, right? Because them, not my peoples.
Right.
So, but,
right.
Yeah, but again, you know, just want to say, you know, I appreciate you and proud of you. It's commendable what you have done. You actually sought the work. You wanted help, and you went out there and you searched for it, and you didn't stop. And like you said, sometimes all you need is a 3 hots and a cot, and you're good to go. You can handle the rest, because there's nothing more in life valuable than your peace of mind. And though you did not have your own place, you had your own place, because mentally, spiritually, you were evolving, and that's all you need. You needed to be around truth. You needed to be around wholeness. You needed to be around people that were going to motivate, encourage, and strengthen you, and that was your home. So you used those tools that was already within you. You mentioned in the community, fitting in, right, throughout life, and so you knew how to adapt. You've been to prison 3 times. You knew what to expect, right? But you also knew that that wasn't going to be your lifestyle forever, and that you were ready and willing for change. And that's what you have to be. You have to be ready and willing to change. A lot of folk are not ready or willing to change, and that's what we need to see in our communities. And if we can't have that in our communities, Tracy, by all means, we have to make that happen in our community.
Yes.
We have to continue
Yes.
people accountable for what's going on in our communities. And if they don't want to be a part of our community because of their thoughts, their actions, right, then move them out. You got to get them out.
That's right.
Period.
That's right. That's right.
And so
we have a responsibility.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have a huge responsibility. I have a responsibility to you. You have a responsibility to me. We have a responsibility to the community. We have a greater responsibility to the world. So as I sit back and I listen to your story, as I listen to what resonated with my spirit, and just listening to you, what you've gone through, being in a workhouse, and I'm glad that you spoke out against the workhouse, because you know what, I remember hearing and seeing something about the closed workhouse, and I was like, yeah, it's about time they close that stuff down, because the workhouse ain't on nothing. The cameras don't even work. People get away with murder. People get away with all types of stuff up in there. They don't care. You know what I mean? It's just there to be, just a racketeering money. That's it. So I'm glad you wrote a piece about Tracy, closure in sight for, and the closure is in sight for the workhouse. Now the real work begins. So let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to kind of touch base on that for a little bit and talk about the legislation to close the workhouse. So how did you get involved with doing that, and what piqued your interest in that initiative?
Okay, well, so like I said, I have 3 areas of focus since I came home and I was able to transition into this amazing life, right? Because I feel like these are the 3 areas that kind of that really hindered me in my life. So the addiction, but also mass incarceration, right? Because we think about our communities, we think about who mass incarceration affects and the effects that it has had on our communities and our people, right? So I'm very, 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 very heavily involved with people that are re-entering back into society and criminal justice reform, because I believe that is one of the detrimental factors that is plaguing in our neighborhood. The fact, of course, because we're stripped of resources and things like that. So funny story was I was working at St. Louis University with my felony conviction. They allowed me to work there, and I went there with so that I can go to school for free. Well, in that process, I was doing all these things in the community, and I was like, making $12.62 an hour, and that's great, you know what I'm saying, if you're transitioning back into society, but that's not a livable wage, right? And a lot of people, I've been to college, I have skills. A lot of people have these skills that have been incarcerated, and they are not, those skills are not being able to be utilized because they have this stigma stitched on them, right? And so that defeats people. There's so many different disenfranchisements put in place for people that are trying to get their life back in order, and it's just another form of ostracizing us and condemning us, and we already know that the prison system primarily affects people of color. So I'm heavy invested in, I wouldn't say criminal justice reform, because I don't believe that the current criminal justice can be reformed, but I'll say in restructuring the criminal justice system. Okay, because it doesn't need to be reformed. It's working exactly the way that it was set up and intended to work. You know what I'm saying? So that working just fine, like a well-oiled machine. You understand what I'm saying? So anyway, I was one thing that I've acquired since I made this transition was the ability to speak, was courage, right? So the ability to speak and be my authentic self. And one day I was at a tea shop, right? The power of manifestation is real, because I just previously sat with a group of amazing women, and we all manifested things that we wanted in the new year, and this was in December. So I had a conversation. I was at the tea shop, black-owned tea shop, Teatopia, plug, on Cherokee. But I was at the tea shop, and I seen this guy who was then a stranger coming to the tea shop, and I had noticed him from different community events. And because I got courage now, right? Because I have a little self-esteem about myself. You know what I mean? I believe in myself. I have the ability to walk up and talk to strangers about things that really mean a lot to me, right? So I just went and asked him if I could have a conversation with him, and I started having a conversation with him in regards to the group that I'm a part of, which is EXPO and Ex-incarcerated People Organizing, and I told him the same story that I just told you, right? Because that I'm not ashamed of it at all. It's me. It's who I am. And at the end of that conversation, he said, I'm going to give you a job. And so I was astonished, amazed, scared. This was a different type of thing for me, right? And that's how I got involved with the Bail Project. So the Bail Project, in collaboration with Action St. Louis and Our City Defenders, created the campaign of Close the Workhouse. And it's funny because